Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of the Nerdic Pro Podcast, or good morning, good evening, whatever sort of time frame it is you're actually watching and listening to this podcast. Welcome back to the Nerdic Pro Podcast YouTube channel. Bit of a different sort of background than normal. I know this past Monday, myself and Mr. Showbiz, Robert Evans, my background then was a bit different compared to what you regular viewers are used to. So anyways, welcome to the Nerdic Pro Podcast and welcome to a Sunday, well, here in the UK, a Sunday afternoon podcast here on YouTube. The third podcast this week. The first one this week was this past Monday. Myself and Mr. Showbiz, Robert Evans, returned the Nerdic Pro Podcast to YouTube this past Monday. Then I believe it was Friday night. It was either Thursday or Friday night. I did Nerdic Pro Weekly episode number 128. And then this afternoon. And then obviously last week we had 3 podcasts, all three of which were last Saturday during the day. Mr. Showbiz also did the main event podcast. He hosted that one. I believe, the first time he'd actually hosted an episode of the Nerdic Pro Podcast since he's been a part of the team. In last July, I believe it was, he joined the ranks of the Nerdic Pro Podcast. And so anyways, this is going to be a bit of a fantasy booking podcast and a bit of a sort of general chat sort of thing, trying to, in the expansion that we're currently going through in the Nerdic Pro Podcast currently, we are going through some changes. Everyone is still a part of the team, so obviously myself, General Manager Stuart Jones, Richie Stoneham, Mr. Showbiz Robert Evans, and Casey Riley. We're all still here, so nothing to worry about with that side of things. And I've just noticed that. Oh my god, I can change the background sort of. Holy crap! Oh my god. Can I change it to? Oh, I've got to add files. Don't know whether that'll take me off the stream though. Oh my god! Right, what was the one that I was just on? I think this one's gotta be my go-to one from now on. For background wise. Oh, StreamYard, I love you so much. Oh my god. So yeah, StreamYard, what a platform to use. Brand, color, same, and logo. Can I change, or do I need to? I need to upgrade. I don't exactly want to pay a fucking fortune, but hey, overlay. I'll look into all that later. Oh my god! Hang on. Oh, mate, this StreamYard is fantastic in my opinion. Mate. This is like the this is the ADHD bloody whatever of me kicking in. So yeah, Good news, I hear that. Oh, there's loads of stuff on there. Rock, what's that going to be? Oh, sweet. Right, I'm kind of getting carried away. And what I do? Oh, theme, what's that? Oh my god. Show display name. Show headlines. What's that? Okay. Show display name. Okay. Minimal. Classic. Bubble. What's the difference between that one and that one? Okay, it's kind of curved a bit in it. Block as to what I was before. Right, anyways, yeah, sorry, I'm just having a bit of a play about with the streaming thing for me being here on StreamYard. I'm just gonna have a check on the what's it to make sure that this is actually fucking working. But yeah, this is gonna be mainly a wrestling fantasy booking thing for all of you wrestling marks out there. Fucking TV. Right, yeah, so hold on, right. So yeah, before I do get into any sort of wrestling fantasy booking, the Nerdic Pro Podcast has recently hit more than 350 followers on our Facebook page. So that is absolutely huge. 300 I think it's 358 when I started recording. Just before I came live. So yeah, over 350, nearly 360 followers on our Facebook page. That is absolutely huge, 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 huge. And I would just like to take the time to thank everyone who had actually taken the time to actually follow us on our Facebook page and has ever actually listened to an episode of the Nerdic Pro Podcast these past 3 years. So, yeah, bear with me 2 seconds. And yeah, so I am live apparently. And yeah, so I am. Can you hang on, let me turn the thingies off. Can you hang on, let me turn the thingies off. These thingies. These things. Overlay. No. Logo. Where the fuck did I see that? Overlay. No. There we are. Logo. Do you see me here? Yeah, lovely. Do you see me here? Yeah, lovely. Oh, I love this thing already. Fuck off. Let me turn it back on, and yeah. So, but yeah. Anyways, I'm getting carried away. But yeah. What I was saying a minute ago about bloody hell about us going through an expansion of the Nerdic Pro podcast. So for the past 3 years, we have mainly been a wrestling-based podcast. And whatever, doing, various different news articles, news podcasts, fantasy booking bits and pieces, predictions, reactions, reviews, just in general talking about wrestling. We've had several people on, dozens of people on, interviewing them, wrestlers and people that are actually involved within the wrestling business, and what have you. Speaking about their time within the wrestling business and matches they've had and, stories they've got to tell, and stories they have to tell about the wrestling business and what have you. And, yeah, so from people such as the professional Nathan Cruz, British wrestling legend Marty Jones, Brett Semtex, C.W. Davis, Jimmy Starr, Reggie Leonard. I could be here all day. Marco Marinelli, James Bentley, Craig McIntosh, Aaron Sharp, Mr. Brees, Casey Riley, Crusher Curtis, CJ Banks, Mikey Andrews, Mr. Lee. Who else has been on? The UK Pitbulls, Hot Stuff, the host of the Wrestling with Heart with Stanley Carr podcast, Stanley Carr, obviously Mr. Showbiz, Robert Evans, bloody Adam Paris from CXW, Tim Strange, who else? Yeah, there have been loads of people, absolutely loads of people that have been on, and what have you? Do you know what I mean? Tiger McGuigan, British wrestling legend, Steve Linsky, legendary British wrestling referee. There have been tons and tons of people that have, stand here on the Nerdic Pro Podcast that have, come and gone here. Do you know what I mean? And what have you? Do you know what I mean? Steve Sykes has been on here on the Nerdic Pro Podcast. Obviously, yeah, I've already mentioned Marty Jones, British wrestling legend. There have been tons and tons of people. Demolition Dave Davis has been on. German wrestling legend. Again, I'll be here all day naming people that have been on. I've done backstage interview with the owner of New British Promotions, the Right Honourable Jacob Page, the young veteran West Danger's briefly been on in a backstage segment, and what have you. Tons of people have been on, tons and tons of people, and apologies if anyone's listening to this who has also come on the Nerdic Pro Podcast at some point, and I've there have just been loads of you, you know what I mean, and apologies if I've just kind of gone off there. Somebody just tried ringing me, even though I messaged her 15 minutes ago to say, about 15 minutes ago to say that I'm now going live doing a podcast. Dumb nut. But trying to think who else. Marco Marinelli, James Bentley, he's been on a few times backstage wise and actual interview. Arcadius has been on, former LWP World Champion. Who else there is for LWP has been on? Brett Semtex has been on. McIntosh has been on. Obviously, Aaron Sharp has been on. Mr. Brace has been on a couple of times. Aaron's been on a couple of times. There have been loads of people. You know what I mean? The UK Pitbulls, legendary British tag team, have been on, and it's obviously the professional Nathan Cruz has been on. Smashing Mike has been on the very first podcast that was recorded by myself. That was like the prelude sort of podcast that led into what's now known as the Nerdic Pro Podcast. So anyways, kind of going off on a bit of a tangent there, but there have been fucking loads of people that have come on, and all that over the years, over the last 3 years, and it's mental to think, the amount of people that have been on as well, and what have you. Do you know what I mean? I didn't particularly think that interviewing was going to be my sort of style. I do sort of still struggle with interviewing people and what have you. So going on to the expansion side of things of the Nerdic Pro Podcast, we're not branching away from the wrestling side of things. Fundamentally, we will still fundamentally be a wrestling based podcast. However, on Tuesday, May the 19th, I can't remember what time we are due to go live, but in speaking in British time and UK time, we We will be going live in the evening of Tuesday, May the 9th. Going live with a couple of Twitch streamers of Disney Online and Tiny Online. This is, and on Saturday, May the 18th, a Kingsland-based metal band who are absolutely kicking ass in the east of England. Salastar'S, a 5-piece metal band, will be making their way onto the Nerdic Pro Podcast. Richie Stoneham, bless him, he's organised these two podcasts. Yes. So, yeah, he's worked his arse off booking and organising these podcasts, bringing people on, etc. And he's currently in talks with one other band as well. That should hopefully be announced one day in the coming week. So who wants to do some fantasy booking bits and pieces? As you can see, newish sort of notepad. So who wants to do some fantasy booking bits and pieces? So going up. So shall we? So WrestleMania 41, which was announced last night, will be taking place on April the 19th and April the 20th, 2025 in Las Vegas. Fantasy booking. So so just off the top of my head, let's just nail a couple matches that I personally would like to see. Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. Versus Solo Sikoa. Or maybe even a tag team match. Maybe between Cody Rhodes and The Rock versus the Gorillas of Destiny, Tangaloa and Tamatonga. Obviously, Tangaloa last night had appeared in WWE at the end of a match. I can't remember. Oh, yeah, the end of the tag match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. No, not fucking Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens, Randy Orton versus Solo Sikoa and Tamatonga. Or even Cody Rhodes and The Rock versus Solo Sikoa, and Roman Reigns. And maybe even the Gorillas of Destiny versus the Usos. That'll be a fucking great match, I believe. So let me just go through the matches that I've got down so far. So I've got Cody Rhodes versus The Rock for the undisputed WWE title. Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. So the matches so far are bloodline related. So Cody Rhodes versus The Rock for the undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Championship. Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa for the undisputed WWE Heavyweight Championship. Cody Rhodes and The Rock versus Tamatonga and Tangaloa of the Gorillas of Destiny. Cody Rhodes and The Rock versus Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns. The Gorillas of Destiny of Tanga Loa and Hamatonga versus Jimmy and Jay Uso. The Uso brothers or the Usos. Or even Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Because obviously we still don't know if Roman Reigns is even still with the bloodline, and what have you, after he lost the undisputed title at WrestleMania a couple of weeks ago, after 1,316 days. So maybe could we see Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns put their differences aside, and Roman Reigns versus The Rock and Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa. So yeah, he goes to Destiny. Or could we see the Gorillas of Destiny could we potentially see a 6-man tag match? The Gorillas of Destiny and Solo Sikoa. So 2 sort of 6-man tag matches here. The Gorillas of Destiny and Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes and the Usos. The God and Solo Sikoa versus The Rock and Roman Reigns. And Hikuleo. And because I think Hikuleo is somewhat involved in the sort of bloodline family, isn't he? Fucking somewhere. And his New Japan contract is up in either June or July. His contract will be coming to an end in June or July. So next month or the month after. I need to double check that one. And so I've currently got, let me number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the Gorillas of Destiny, Solo Sikoa versus The Rock, Roman Reigns, and Hikuleo. Let's go to these size. Or as number 9, the G. The Gorillas of Destiny, and Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes, The Rock, and Roman Reigns. However, if we want to see like a bloodline civil war, shall we say, then I think the best sort of option would probably be the Gorillas of Destiny. Out of the ones I've got, so the matches I've currently got down, I've currently got 9 of them. 9 matches that I would like to see at, a big sort of show, i.e. WrestleMania, or a SummerSlam, or even maybe like a Royal Rumble, one of or a Survivor Series, Jacob Fatu, he's fucking been rumored for weeks to be coming to fucking months even. He's meant to be coming to WWE, isn't he? As per the rumors. Fuck, so adding him into the mix, tell you what, that's just fucking made me think a hell of a lot more. Oh, Christ. I need to bring fucking Stuart back on. Stuart, you prick. Fucking come back on the Nerdic Pro Podcast. Because you're a lot fucking better there at fantasy booking shit than what I am. So, shall we say the Gorillas of Destiny, the God and Solo Sikoa versus The Rock and Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. I think that match, Tamatonga Tangaloa of the Gorillas of Destiny and Solo Sikoa, the official bloodline, versus the head of the tables versus the heads of the table. Hang on. So maybe we can see The Rock, Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu, Hikuleo if he ends up coming up, and what have you? Do you know what I mean? Maybe we can even see a fucking War Games, right? So I think that Hikuleo will be. So, hang on, right. Oh, I need to think about this properly, right? Right. What I've got down so far. So, hang on. So, Survivor Series. So, for argument's sake, Survivor Series War Games. Oh, yeah, fucking dumbass. Survivor Series War Games. Right. Tamatonga and Tangaloa are the Gorillas of Destiny. The God and Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu versus The Rock and Roman Reigns and Hikuleo and one more person. It will either be Jimmy or Jey Uso. So if we say Jey Uso, as he plus Jey Uso, is obviously he spent the most time away from the bloodline. So if we say Tamatonga Tangaloa of the Gorillas of Destiny, Solo Sikoa, and Jacob Fatu, the bloodline versus the heads of the table, The Rock, the final boss, The Rock, head member of the board of directors on TKO, and Roman Reigns and Hikuleo and Jey Uso. Or isn't it meant to be 5-on-5? It's meant to be 5-on-5, isn't it? So if we add what other fucking Zilla Fatu, right? So number 2 for that. So the God and Zilla Fatu and Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu versus, right, The Rock, the head of the table, The Rock, and member of the board of directors on the parent company of WWE TKO, The Rock and Roman Reigns, the head of the table, Roman Reigns, and Jimmy and Jey Uso. Jimmy and Jey Uso. So the Usos, and Hikuleo. I can't ever fucking spell his name properly. So, two matches I've got. If we're going to see a 4-on-4 War Games match, I would say Tama Tonga, Tangaloa of the Gorillas of Destiny, Solo Sikoa, and Jacob Fatu of the Bloodline versus the heads of the table, The Rock, the final boss, The Rock, Roman Reigns, Hikuleo, Jey Uso. The only reason why I say Jey Uso is obviously he's the one that spent the most amount of time out of the Usos away from the actual Bloodline group itself. He had obviously battles with Roman previously over, like the Thunderdome era during the pandemic a couple of years ago. And, he sort of felt like the black sheep of the, like the black sheep of the family, like the elephant in the room sort of type of thing, and whatever. Do you know what I mean? So that's the reason why I've gone with Jey, because, he's sort of been disbanded from the Bloodline and to sort of, and he's obviously had his differences with Solo in the past as well and whatever. But if we were to have a 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series sort of style of match, as it has been since the late 80s when Survivor Series was first actually became a thing, I would say the Gorillas, but have it as like a War Games style sort of type of match. I would say the Gorillas of Destiny, Zilla Fatu, who is the son of Umaga, the late great Umaga, bring him up onto the main roster, and Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu versus The Rock, Roman Reigns, Jimmy and Jey Uso, and Hikuleo. So literally have the entire load of the Bloodline family who are still wrestling. Obviously, you've got The Rock, who's sort of come in and out with who sort of returns to WWE like a couple of times a year and whatever, just to cut a promo. But this year, like, he has returned to and been involved in storylines and all that and whatever. And actually wrestled this year as well for the first time in 8 years since WrestleMania 32, I believe it was, in 2016, when he had that fucking, what was it, 6-second or 9-second match against Eric Rowan. Yeah, so, it will, to me, I think that if booked properly, each of these matches can make sense. So these are all going to be sort of like Bloodline related matches. Could we potentially see a trilogy of Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes main eventing WrestleMania for 3 years on the trot? Because this will then be the 10th time Roman's main evented a WrestleMania in 10 years. Do you know what I mean? If he main events next year's Mania, then this will literally be the 10th time in 10 years. Obviously, he would have had, what's it? Since they started doing like the 2-nighters for WrestleMania, that sort of boosted up his numbers for main eventing. And sorry, just now it's getting a bit dry. So it's sort of been because since they started doing the 2-nighters back in 2020, that had boosted up his numbers of main events at WrestleMania. But yeah, so the matches I've got down, but it wouldn't, to some extent, it wouldn't be a shit thing if they did have a trilogy of WrestleMania matches, because we've not had three of the same matches at WrestleMania in a row. We've had back-to-back matches. What were they? They were The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, The Rock, and John Cena, Cody and Roman, and there's one more. And I cannot think of it off the fucking top of my head. Or was that the Royal Rumble where there was four of them? Four back-to-back winners of the Royal Rumble. So Hogan, Michaels, Austin, Cody. Just trying to think. Excuse me. There have obviously been back-to-back main eventers of, like, singular main eventers, like Hulk Hogan main evented fuck knows how many WrestleManias in like the first sort of 5 years of WrestleMania. I think he main evented 4 of the first 5, didn't he? Or whatever. Or something stupid, wasn't it? Oh, Christ, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it probably is. Probably is just Shawn Michaels and Kevin Owens. Not fucking Shawn Michaels and Kevin Owens. Which is when the fuck do they ever do anything together? Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25-26. The Rock and John Cena at 28-29. And Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns at 39-40. I believe the only times we've seen back-to-back Mania matches. But did Macho Man and Hulk Hogan ever do main event? Like, do back-to-back Manias? Or Hogan and the Warrior? Because the Warrior started getting big in the very late 80s, very early 90s, didn't he? And then Randy Savage was literally mid-80s right the way through to early to mid-90s when he fucked off to Bischoff, wasn't it, in WCW. Oh, right, yeah, I do think those are the 3 times we've seen back-to-back Mania matches, because we have had, I was trying to think, if it was 3 back-to-back Mania matches and 4 back-to-back Rumble winners, or 4 back-to-back Mania matches, or 3 back-to-back Rumble winners, and then thinking of it, it was Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, and Cody Rhodes, who had won back-to-back Rumbles. Because it was Hulk Hogan won the 92-93, didn't he? And then Michaels won. I don't know, but yeah. Anyways, yeah. So Steve Austin won 97-98, didn't he? It was either 97-98 or 98-99. No, McMahon won 99, didn't he? Mr. McMahon won 99, and then it would have been Steve Austin 97-98. Hulk Hogan would have been. So they wouldn't have done it 6 years consecutively of people winning back-to-back. So it probably would have been, because Yokozuna won it in 93, didn't he? Because that was when was it 92 or 93 when they started giving people title matches? So I want to say that was 93. Yeah, sorry, it would have been 93. So Hulk Hogan, I want to say, was 91, 92. Yokozuna was 93. Shawn Michaels would have been 94, 95. Steve Austin would have been 97, 98. Vince McMahon would have been 99. Cody Rhodes would have then been 2023, 2024. Booyaka, I think. I've probably got that all fucking mixed around, but I do know that I was definitely right with Cody Rhodes, obviously winning this year's and last year's Rumble matches. But so the matches I've got. So for WrestleMania 41 next year in 2025 in Las Vegas, Nevada, WrestleMania All In, as they're calling it now, believe it or not. And so on April 19th and 20th, which is a bit later in April to what they normally do it, because it's normally like the first sort of because it's normally the first weekend in April, isn't it? Or like the second or like the second weekend at least, because it's normally so it's normally like the first weekend in April they do it, innit? But so Cody Rhodes versus The Rock for the undisputed title, Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa for the undisputed title, Cody Rhodes versus The Rock, and Cody Rhodes and The Rock versus the Gorillas of Destiny, Cody Rhodes and The Rock versus Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns, the Gorillas of Destiny versus the Usos, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus and The Rock. So Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and The Rock and Solo Sikoa. So tag match, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus The Rock and Solo Sikoa. If I put versus there, as an introduction, but for not addition thingies. The Gorillas of Destiny and Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes and the Usos. The Gorillas of Destiny and Solo Sikoa versus The Rock, Roman Reigns, and Hikuleo. The Gorillas of Destiny and Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes, The Rock, and Roman Reigns. The Gorillas of Destiny and Solo Sikoa versus The Rock, Roman Reigns, and Jacob Fatu. Survivor Series War Games. The Gorillas of Destiny and Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu versus The Rock, Roman Reigns, Hikuleo, Jey Uso. Traditional 5-on-5 match Survivor Series. The Gorillas of Destiny, Zilla Fatu, Solo Sikoa, and Jacob Fatu versus The Rock, Roman Reigns, the Usos, and Jimmy and Jey Uso, and Hikuleo. I think booked in the correct manner, booked in the correct way, I do think that these matches can potentially be, big bucks, and people will think, holy shit, so this match is happening, that match is happening, I'm going to tune into this pay-per-view and actually buy this pay-per-view. I'm going to re-subscribe to the WWE Network or resubscribe to Netflix or whatever, as it will be as of the 1st of January next year, innit? Well, that's the thing. How are they doing pay-per-views as of next year? Is as of next year the WWE Network's going to be no more completely? Because as far as I'm aware, it was just Raw going on to Netflix, wasn't it? Or are they putting everything onto Netflix? And literally making Netflix the new WWE Network. Obviously keeping, Netflix as Netflix, but putting all the WWE onto Netflix and making it like Peacock or whatever. So you've got multiple different sort of subsidiaries, if you know what I mean, of Peacock and whatever. Do you know what I mean? And what have you, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so yeah, I don't actually know what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? Could it potentially be if you already subscribe to Netflix? Like it's probably already been a thing and been announced by now. But if it's got to be the case of if you already have a Netflix subscription, you'll then get so much off. If you pay a little bit extra, you can then, because I know that you've got 2 Netflix subscriptions now, and one where you have no ads, one where you do have ads. So you pay a bit more to have no ads, you pay a bit less to have ads, and they're kind of like YouTube Premium, and do you know what I mean? Like you pay a bit more so you don't get any ads, in front of what you're watching, during what you're watching. But if you pay less, then you kind of got no choice to have the ads and the commercials in it and what have you. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Or like if you have the full subscription to Netflix, will that grant you full access to the WWE network? Or if you already have the normal Netflix subscription, if you pay like a couple of extra quid, couple of extra pound, couple of extra dollars a month, will that grant you access to the WWE network? I don't know, but or if what you're paying already, will that grant you access to anything that the WWE is actually putting on there and what have you? Like is that going to be a thing? Do you know what I mean? You know, or what have you? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I've not really looked into that one. When it comes to WWE going on to Netflix, because I could have sworn that I'd see that it was just Raw going on, but I might be wrong. Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna go away, and spend a bit of time building up these specific matches, and what have you, and come back at a later date and actually properly fantasy book these matches and what have you. And yeah, so anyways, thank you very much to the people that have been watching live, and thank you to those of you that will watch on the replays. And wow, this has been not a fantasy booking podcast, but because normally what I sort of tend to look at as fantasy booking is actually fantasizing the build up to a specific individual match. Do you know what I mean? And what have you? And so anyways, thank you to everyone again for making this second YouTube podcast this week possible. And thank you to StreamYard who have, made this second YouTube stream this week possible. And so my name has, as per usual, been your owner of the Nerdic Pro Podcast, Bobby effing Salastar, and I shall be seeing you all this coming Tuesday. Hang on, let me put the banner up. Here we are. Every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. UK time, live on Facebook, the Nerdic Pro Podcast presents Nerdic Pro Weekly. I do need to add where you can catch up on all your latest wrestling fixes on there as well. So yeah, catch me live on Facebook this coming Tuesday for episode in week number 129 of Nerdic Pro Weekly. 100. On the Nerdic Pro Podcast Facebook page. And could we get to 400 followers come the, I don't know, say end of July? Can we get to 400 followers between now and the end of July? Giving it just over a month and just under 2 months. So, anyways, thank you very much to those of you that have been watching live. Thank you to those of you that have been watching on the replay. My name is, as per usual, been your owner of the Nerdic Pro Podcast, Bobby effing Salastar, and I shall be seeing you all later. Thank you all very much, and goodbye.